No.
Any notes?
No, mom.
All right.
You said you will make a fresh notes or something like that.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, everyone switch on your videos. So when we talk about photosynthesis, so right here in front of you, you see a pictorial representation of photosynthesis, wherein you see how, with the help of water absorbed from the soil, the plants utilize, they take in the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through their leaves, and in the presence of sunlight, they produce sugars, particularly which one? They particularly produce C6H12.
Glucose.
Yes, which is glucose. So this is the product of photosynthesis, and also oxygen, which is the byproduct of photosynthesis. So in this particular chapter, we're going to basically see the behind the scenes of photosynthesis. So when we talk about photosynthesis in higher plants, so the green plants, they carry out photosynthesis. It is a physiochemical process, okay, by which they utilize the light energy to make the organic compound. Particularly, we're talking yet again about the glucose molecule. Now, photosynthesis, it is a light-driven oxidation reduction reaction. It's a redox reaction. Okay, it's not just oxidation, not just reduction. Rather, it is a mix. It is a redox reaction where the energy from the light is used to oxidize the water, releasing oxygen gas and hydrogen ions, followed by the transfer of electrons to carbon dioxide. So here in the process of photosynthesis, the water molecule, the water molecule that undergoes oxidation, whereas the CO2 molecule, it undergoes the process of reduction. So when water molecule undergoes the process of oxidation, it will ultimately lead to the formation of oxygen, right? And when the CO2 undergoes reduction process, so it will lead to the formation of the carbohydrates such as glucose, which is the organic molecule. Now, the organisms that do photosynthesis, we call them as autotrophs. Is the font size fine, students? People are able to see it clearly?
Yeah, mom.
Okay. So, so the green plants, they are called as the autotrophs, and only they can do the photosynthetic reaction. Why? It's because of the presence of chlorophyll in them. And they can use the chemical fuels such as glucose from carbon dioxide and water by utilizing sunlight as an energy source. Now, why is the process of photosynthesis so important? It is important for two reasons. The autotrophic organisms, they synthesize food for the whole entire biosphere, right? If they are not there, then everyone is going to die. Other than that, they also synthesize oxygen, which is the gas that the heterotrophic organisms, they used to breathe in. Now the question comes along, where does the process of photosynthesis take place? So it takes place in the green leaves, like in a very broad sense. If anyone would ask you in like very in bacha wala language, this would be, it takes place in the green leaves. But that's not so simple. Inside the leaves, if you remember anatomy chapter, remember mesophyll cells, bundle sheath cells, these cells were there in the leaves. So the process of photosynthesis mostly takes place in the mesophyll cells of the leaf, and they have a large number of chloroplasts present in them. Now, I believe you people remember chloroplasts, what chloroplasts are, because we have done the cell chapter, right? So what are chloroplasts? Students, am I audible?
Yeah, mom. It's a plastid in a which contains chlorophyll, which is used for
Ma'am, your
wet
voice is not clear.
photosynthesis.
Yes, exactly. So, chloroplasts, they are the plastids that have the green color pigment. Also, Aisha and Sunny, they switch on your videos.
Mom, my net is slow, so if I switch it on, then you'll get stuck. So when I get proper, like after some time, I'll get the net to charge that time I'll on it.
Yeah. Aisha, switch on your video. So now talking about the chloroplast. So within the chloroplast, you have a proper membranous structure inside of which the photosynthesis process would actually take place. Now if you were to see here, see. So the process of photosynthesis, it has two sets of reactions. The first set of reaction is the light reaction. The second set of reaction is the dark reaction. The light reaction is called as the photochemical phase, whereas the dark reaction is called as the biochemical phase. And this basically takes place in the cell organelle, which we call as chloroplast. Now, if you see the structure, let us quickly revise the structure of chloroplast. So you people know that it is a double membranous structure that has an outer membrane and an inner membrane. Talking about the chloroplast, inside which, like the space enclosed by the membranes, is the stroma. And the space enclosed by this particular membrane is the stroma. And inside the chloroplast, there is the presence of coin-like structures called as the thylakoid. And when you stack several thylakoids one upon each other,
Your
you
voice
get...
is not clear. It's really low.
Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Now it's like
Okay. So when we talk, I was saying that the chloroplast, it is a double membrane structure, right? It has an outer membrane and it has an inner membrane. So when we talk about the structure of the chloroplast, so the membranes, they enclose a space which is called as the stroma. So the space enclosed by the membrane of the chloroplast will be called as the stroma. And inside the chloroplast, you'll have coin-like structures present called as the thylakoid. A stack of thylakoid is called as the grana. Now, several grana, they are connected together with the help of a structure called as stroma lamellae. Okay, this is the basic ultra structure. In a simplified version from your NCERT, I've put this diagram. It is important because they can ask you to draw it. They can ask you to label it as well. So outer membrane, inner membrane, always, right? Then this light green structure throughout the cell is the stroma part. Then there is the stacks, that is like the this structure, the flattened structure is the thylakoid, and the stack of thylakoid is your grana. Several grana, they are connected with the help of the stroma lamellae. Now, other than that, you people remember that chloroplast was a semi-autonomous cell organelle, right? It has its own DNA and it has its own ribosome. This much is clear to everyone.
yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So we were talking about this particular process. So photosynthesis takes place in the green leaves of the plant. The mesophyll cells in the leaves, they have a great number of chloroplasts. And the chloroplasts, they align themselves along the wall of the mesophyll cells so that they can get as much light as possible. Now, you know already that inside the chloroplast, there is a membranous system that has grana, stroma lamellae, and the matrix of the chloroplast called as the stroma. Now, each of these parts, they have their own specific function to perform. So they have division of labor amongst them. Okay, each of them have the unique function that they are assigned with. Now, the membrane system is responsible for trapping the light energy and also for the synthesis of the chemical intermediates such as ATP and NADPH. These two molecules that are the ATP and NADPH, we call it as the chemical intermediate. Okay, meaning they are the currencies that will help the process to take place. Okay, so these are the chemical intermediates. So a set of reaction, now I told you that photosynthesis happens in two sets of reactions. Light
What is
reaction,
NADP?
see, NADPH is a chemical intermediate just like ATP. It stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide hydrogen phosphate. Okay, this is like you can say from every NADPH molecule, 3 ATP are synthesized. So it's like a chemical intermediate which will provide
Okay.
energy for the process of photosynthesis. Understood? So when we talk about a set of reactions that are directly driven by the light, meaning they will take place as the light is incident. So we call them as the light reaction. Now, after the light reaction, the products that are formed are ATP and NADPH. Okay, these are the products of light reaction. Now, in the membrane system, meaning the stroma lamellae, like the membranous part. In the case of stroma, which is the space enclosed, the sugar synthesis will happen. So basically, like you people know that during photosynthesis, light energy is utilized and thereby it is converted into chemical energy. And at the end of photosynthesis, we have food, we have O2. But if you want to divide the photosynthesis for the ease of your understanding, just imagine that first the light will be captured, okay? And then the chemical intermediates will be synthesized, meaning the ATP will be synthesized, the NADPH will be synthesized, okay? And then in the second half of the reaction of photosynthesis, then the sugar will be synthesized. Understood?
Yeah, mom.
So the part where the sugar is synthesized is called as the dark reaction. Not because it happens in the dark, but because it utilizes the products of this thing, the light reaction, to synthesize the sugar. Understood? This will also happen in the light only. But it see, you people are getting my point. Like, see, photosynthesis has two reactions. I told you, light, and then there's the dark reaction. Now imagine that photosynthesis, like I'll mention the steps. Okay, first the CO2 is utilized.
Isn't the reactions occurring at the daytime is known as light reactions, like the production of O2, and then the reactions happening at night is the dark reactions, right? Where there's a release of CO2.
No, see, photosynthesis can never happen in the dark. Understood? The reason why they have given it as the name as the dark reaction is because it's not directly light driven. Why? Because it's dependent upon the products of light reaction. Understood? So basically understand it like this, that during photosynthesis, imagine it in steps. So first, the plant is utilizing the solar energy, converting it into chemical energy. Okay. And then utilizing that chemical energy to make ATP and NADPH. Okay. It is making chemical intermediates. This is clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this part in which the plant is utilizing the sunlight to make ATP and NADPH, we're calling it as the light reaction. Okay, this is the part which is directly driven because of light. Second part is that the plant utilizes this ATP, NADPH to make the sugar, the end product. Understood? So this won't happen in the dark. The reason why it has gotten its name as dark is because it is not directly light driven, because during this step, light absorption doesn't happen. During this step, the products that are formed as a result of light absorption, that is ATP, NADPH, now they'll utilize that to make the sugar. Clear? Now it is clear?
Yeah.
Is it?
Thank you.
Okay. Now, so when we talk about the dark reaction, so here the sugar is synthesized, ultimately which turns to become starch for storage purpose. Acha, why? Can you tell me why is glucose not stored as glucose, rather it is stored as starch?
Because glucose is more complex
Complex. Okay.
and starch, like it
Ma,
doesn't react.
Because it is less suitable for long-term storage.
Okay. Then any other views?
Glucose is soluble. Like it's easily transported throughout the plants.
See, when we talk about the glucose molecule, okay, so why is glucose stored as starch? It could have been converted into any other thing, isn't it? And then be stored, right? But why only starch? See, the thing with that is because starch, if you think about it, it is a better form of glucose. How is it a better form of glucose? Because first of all, it is insoluble. First thing, it is insoluble, meaning it will stay just like that. However, it has been stored, it will always stay like that. Second, it is unreactive. It will not react with any other thing like any oxygen, any CO2. It will not react and form something else. Whereas glucose can react with other molecules and form different molecules. Okay, so that is the reason it is stable compound. It is insoluble compound. That is why the plant is storing it as a form of starch. Clear? And yes,
Yeah,
one of
ma'am.
you said something about long-term storage. Yes, starch is 100% better alternative for long-term storage. Clear? So we'll write the answer over here that plants store glucose. Acha, what is the reserve food material of animal, students?
Dry
Like for
fruits.
plants? Huh. For plants, it is starch, and for animals, it is glycogen. So the plants, they store the glucose in the form of starch, as starch is insoluble. It is chemically stable and unreactive. Okay, it is chemically stable and it is unreactive. But it is osmotically inactive. Meaning, do you people remember hypotonic, hypertonic?
Yeah.
Right? So this particular starch is immune to that. It will not like make the area swell up or shrink down. Those things will not happen. Okay. So it is osmotically inactive and perfect. And it is perfect for the long term storage. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
That is why it is stored in the form of starch molecule. Now, moving forward, talking about this particular thing wherein, yes, so this was about the dark reaction. They are also called as the carbon reactions, or you can call them as the biochemical reaction because they are dependent upon the chemical intermediates. This much is clear to everyone?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes,
Hmm.
ma'am.
Okay. Now let us quickly revise the various early experiments that was made that I talked to you about. So first there was Joseph Priestley. So Joseph Priestley in the year 1774, he discovered that plants replenish the oxygen in the air, which respiratory animals and burning candles eliminate. You people remember the bell jar experiment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
So which plant was used to replenish the oxygen? Hmm? Which plant was kept under the bell jar?
Green plant.
Green plant. Okay. Obviously, you will keep a photosynthesizing plant, but can you name the plant? It was mint plant. Okay. So there was the bell jar experiment, which was obviously done by Joseph Priestley. So when we talk about this particular experiment, we saw how under the bell jar, when you keep this, always reminds me of the winter cap and never the bell jar. So when you talk about the bell jar, you put a candle into it, which was burning. and then you put a mice into it, whatever. Okay, into it. This is a smile. Okay, no. Okay, so you put the mice and you put the candle. Later on, you would notice that this would like give you the result that the candles it has extinguished. Okay, and the mice also dead. But now when you put a mint plant into it, you will notice that the candle keeps on burning and the mice also live, mice or any animal. So basically, Joseph Priestley said that the plant, it does replenishment of oxygen, meaning that it resupplies or again forms the oxygen. So that was the first experiment conducted by Joseph Priestley. Then comes Julius von Schack. So him in the year 1854, he said that it is the green parts of the plant where the glucose is produced, meaning it is the green parts of the plant that can do the photosynthesis. Any other? Not possible. So why and how did he do that? Basically, he took the green parts of the plant and he tested for starch in them. So if the starch was positive, then that definitely means that photosynthesis has taken place. And the parts where the starch was not positive, then it doesn't do photosynthesis. So that was the second experiment. Then the T.W. Engelmann, him in the year, like from year 1843 to 1909, he carried out a fantastic experiment. Imagine his experiment lasted so long. What he did, he wanted to see in which spectrum of light does the photosynthesis take place, right? So you people know that the white light is a spectrum of 7 colors, right? Vibgyor, Vibgyor, right? So what he did, he took a prism and he split the white light into its spectral components, 7 different components of light. And with that light, he illuminated a green algae that was called as cladophora. So he discovered, and basically, whilst he was doing this particular experiment, the basis of his experiment was that the algae will do photosynthesis in one part of the light, and that will be considered as the spectrum of light in which photosynthesis takes place. Okay. So for that, the microorganisms were used to discover where the oxygen originated. He saw, like basically he used green plant and he used few anaerobic bacteria. They shouldn't have written anaerobic. It should be aerobic bacteria because these bacteria, they're utilizing the oxygen. So once the cladophora, the plant was doing photosynthesis, as a result of which in those areas where O2 was produced, there the oxygenic organisms would be there in order to take the oxygen. So he found that the germs, they gathered primarily in the split spectrum, that is blue and the red light areas. So it was confirmed that the most, you can say the spectrum of the light responsible for photosynthesis was blue and the red light areas. Earlier people used to think it was the green because green, whenever we think about plants,
Your voice is really low.
whenever you think about the plant, is it okay now? So earlier it was used to believe that the photosynthesis takes place in the green part of the photosynthetic this thing light spectrum, but no, later on it was found that it was the blue and the red light areas. The first photosynthesis action spectrum was thus defined like this, the blue and the red, and the absorption spectra of the pigments chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B was also in this. Now see, what happened is that there are different types of chlorophyll molecule present. I believe you remember from plant kingdom. So there's chlorophyll A, there's chlorophyll B, and there's chlorophyll C. These are the types of chlorophyll. Now, amongst these chlorophyll, This is the chief pigment. Okay, this is the chief pigment, whereas all the other ones are the photosynthetic pigments which are accessory. Now, the chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B are very important as far as photosynthesis is concerned. So, the chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B, like when you test the action spectrum, meaning you illuminate the stuff and you want to see at which point of the light they all also working. So the spectrum of cladophora, which was doing photosynthesis, and the spectrum of chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B, it matched the blue and red light. Clear?
Yeah.
Then,
Yes.
then the photosynthesis process reaction was given, wherein it was said as CO2 plus H2O gives you CH2O, which is like a empirical formula of glucose along with the oxygen. Okay, so where CH2O is a carbohydrate just like glucose, then you like substitute the 6 and you'll get the C6H12O6. Now, then came Cornelius van Niel. He was a microbiologist. He worked with microorganisms and he understood that the oxygen that is released as the end product of photosynthesis, it is coming from the splitting of water molecule. Earlier, it was believed that it came from CO2 molecule, right? So, that's the case. So he said that the splitting of water molecule gives you the O2 and not the CO2. So H2O is the hydrogen donor in the green plants and this gets oxidized to O2. Always remember, since photosynthesis is a redox reaction, meaning oxidation and reduction, both the things will happen, the water molecule gets oxidized, whereas the CO2 molecule gets reduced. So the water gets oxidized to form the oxygen and the CO2 gets reduced to form the glucose molecule. Then we have the whole entire this thing reaction of the
Mom, what's
photosynthesis, which is a
H2A?
balanced reaction.
What's H2A?
H2A.
Yeah.
H2A represents the molecule of hydrogen which can be with any gas. Understood? This can be normal oxygen. This can be heavier isotope of oxygen. It can be any gas associated. It's like an empirical formula. Understood?
And what does the A represent?
Yeah, the same, like for example, they are showing you this thing as an empirical formula to show you that when the photosynthesis is being done, then this CO2 is getting converted into the CH2O, which is the empirical formula for glucose. Whereas this H2A, the A here would represent the oxygen. So as the light reaction gets completed, the A is released separately from H2. This is what they are showing. Understood? That the A was not there in CO2. It was there attached with the H2. So they're showing that after the photosynthesis is done, the A comes from H2. I mean H2, like as a hydrate. Understood?
Yeah, Mom, got it. Thank you.
So this much is clear to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mom.
Also this procedure wherein the oxygen molecule is released from the water splitting, okay, which is also called as photolysis of water. Splitting of water is photolysis. The word lysis means breakdown or splitting. It means splitting and the word photo means the light. So the splitting of any molecule in the presence of light is called as photolysis. So photolysis of H2O produces O2. Clear? This is something you must always remember. And then the same exact experiment was confirmed by several other scientists as well to prove that this is right or not. Clear? This is clear?
Yeah, Mom.
Yeah.
Any doubts? Anything people want to ask me? Okay, now you people note down till here and see, do not write this part. Pigments involved in photosynthesis, I haven't taught you yet. You don't write that part. Okay, rest all you can write. Okay, this part you don't write. So write till here. Then where does photosynthesis take place?
Done, mom.
Okay, everyone's done till here. Shall I scroll down?
Yeah.
Yes, mom. Done, mom.
Everyone's done?
Yes, mom.
Yeah.
Done, ma'am.
Everyone's done, students?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now you people draw this diagram of the chloroplast. Done, students? Done till here?
Yeah, mom.
All right. Okay. So now talking about the division that is there in the chloroplast. So there is a clear-cut division of labor within the chloroplast. Now the membrane system is responsible for trapping the light energy and for synthesizing the ATP and NADPH, which we are calling as the chemical intermediates. Now in the stroma, meaning the space that is enclosed by the membrane, in that case, what happens is that inside the stroma, the enzymatic reaction, meaning all the enzyme-based reactions, they start to take place and form the sugar. The former set of reactions that are forming the ATP molecule and the NADPH molecule, these are called as the light reaction. Why? Because they are directly driven by light. That is why we are calling them as light reactions, or you call them as the photochemical reactions. This is clear, students? This part about the light reaction?
Yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now moving forward, the second part, which we are referring to as the dark reaction. So it's not directly light driven, but definitely 100% dependent upon the products of the light reactions, that is the ATP and NADPH. So that is why they are called as the dark reactions, or the biochemical reactions, or the carbon reactions. However, always remember that this should never means that the dark reaction takes place in the dark. That is why they have gotten its name. No, definitely not. So always remember this one thing. Many a times people think that, okay, dark reaction has gotten its name because it happens in the dark. No, definitely not. It happens in the light only, but not directly dependent upon the light. Rather, it is driven by the light. Clear?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about the photosynthetic pigments, so these are the substances, like, see, why is the chlorophyll molecule able to do the process of photosynthesis? Is because they have that ability to absorb the light at specific wavelength. Obviously, the light absorption will be done at a specific wavelength only. Now, the leaf pigments, they are present not because of a single color. The leaf looks green. It doesn't mean that they'll only have a single color present in them because of just chlorophyll. No, it has a whole entire combination of colors associated. So such as there is the chlorophyll A molecule. It is the most abundant pigment in the plant, and it is, and this is important, student, this whole part is important. The color, which color the pigment has, is very important. So the chlorophyll A molecule is bright or blue-green in color. Like when you do the chromatography, it will appear bright or blue-green in color. Talking about the second pigment, which is the chlorophyll B. This is yellowish green in color. The xanthophylls, the third pigment, they are yellow in color purely, and the carotenoids, they are yellow to yellow orange in color. This is very important to remember each of the pigments and the color it shows. So when we talk about the leaf pigment, it's not because of a single color, it's because of the 4 variety of pigments that are there. Now, the pigments, they're not just lying there, just like that in the chloroplast. Rather, they are present into, or they are organized into the light harvesting complexes, LHC. It's like a complex that contains the photosynthetic pigment and it contains the accessory pigments. So there are two types of light harvesting complexes. There is photosystem 1, which has the light harvesting complex, and the photosystem 2. This much is clear?
Yeah,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes,
Any
mom.
doubts?
No, mom.
Okay. All right. Now you people note down till here, then we'll move forward.
Run now.
Yeah,